First and Now, the official BC Lions podcast. Welcome back, Matt Baker alongside Nick Kowalski. Nicky, we live for this time of year, the CFL Combine going on throughout this week in your hometown, your former hometown of Winnipeg.
Yeah, I'm sure they're loving the slush.
There's no English Bay in Winnipeg. I've seen you.
No, it's all melting, muddy snow. It's beautiful.
Always love that in March. We get like 2-3 days of sun, and some young fellas like yourself are living it up. It's good for you. You should. But what I'm saying is, this time of year, CFL Combine, we're just about 2 months away from Kamloops. In fact, we're well inside of 2 months at this point, right? May 8th, 9th, we'll be there for the start of rookie camp. March Madness, I got my brackets right here. Men's and women's. Nick, we're thinking huge this year. So
yeah, office pool's coming in hot and heavy, right?
Yeah, so I'll spare everyone the full detail, but on the men's side, I'm a Kansas Jayhawk fan. Always was a Kansas Jayhawk fan. And on the women's side, in honor of being in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago, we'll talk about Vegas. The Pac-12 women's tournament was going on. And I saw a lot of UCLA Bruins fans walking the Vegas Strip. So
I don't think Caitlin Clark will let that happen. They gotta get through Iowa.
Well, you gotta be creative with these things. You can't just go all favorites. So
I'm doing mine tonight. I'm submitting my office brackets tonight, so everybody watch out. I just want a baby pool in the office too. So
yeah, you did.
I'm on a roll here.
You did. Congratulations to Connor Ewart, our senior manager of event operations. Does a great job on the technical side with BC Place, and the game day side. Him and his wife Tina welcoming young Bowen.
Bowen, yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
Love it.
Big Buffalo Sabres fans, I guess. Bowen Byram.
Or the Island. Or whoever knows.
So you won the pool. So you had to, I missed this. I must have been away when this went down.
I think so, yeah. The email was sent out.
You guess a gender and a date?
No, they did the gender reveal in typical Connor Ewart fashion. He had like a big one iron and blasted a golf ball for the gender reveal I saw on Instagram. But the pool was the date, the height, and the weight.
Oh, of course.
And they gave you like sliders and everything. So I nailed the date. That's kind of why I won. And I nailed the, what was it? I think I nailed the inches, which would be the height, right? Yep. So bang.
Congrats again, Connor and Tina. The newest BC Lions fan has arrived.
Yeah.
Young Bowen.
Get that baby Adams Jr. jersey going.
Yes. Here you get a couple of jerseys. Why not? We have the connections inside this company. So bracketology, football around the corner. We'll talk a bit about Touchdown Pacific. Victoria game tickets going to go on sale. By the time this drops, you will be in Victoria. I think you're doing a little bit of a site visit. So we'll look forward to hearing about that. But bittersweet. We're talking about some newborns, but a couple of weeks ago, our first time recording since the passing of Dave Ritchie, Grey Cup champion head coach with the Lions, not only as head coach in 94, but a lot of people, I almost forgot about this. He came back at the end with Wally as defensive coordinator. So he was here for 2 Grey Cup wins, 2006, the second. And you talk to a guy like Ryan Phillips about Dave Ritchie, you just understand the impact this man had on so many young men he coached. Early 90s was a tough time for this franchise, Nick. Bankruptcy, losing records, 3-15, and Coach Ritchie comes in 93 and authors a big turnaround. So the story of 94 we'll talk about on our next episode a bit more in depth. We're going to talk about the 85 Grey Cup champs before we're done here today. But Dave Ritchie turned this franchise around, 6th all-time with 31 coaching wins. I was only here for the 3 seasons, so 95 after the 95 season, he was let go. Seemed a little premature when you look back on it. But the number one constant you hear about Dave Ritchie is just he was the ultimate leader of men, and was sad to hear that news a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and definitely a winner too. Like you said, the proof's in the pudding with him turning around that team in 1994, and then ultimately coming back in his second year in 2005, and then his second year earning a ring in 2006, and rightfully inducted into the Canadian Hall of Fame in 2022. So R.I.P. to Dave Ritchie.
And that's one of those, why did it take that long to go into the Hall of Fame? You see that with... You see that too much these days. Yeah. We won't harp on it too much more than that. But yeah, just an all-time legend and class act for this franchise. Thoughts are with his family. Tough to segue into it, but we're going to talk about 1985. These next series of podcasts, we're going to reminisce about each Grey Cup championship team as part of the 70th anniversary season. A lot more 70th season content to come, by the way. We've cooked up some cool videos. So stay tuned. It's going to be more of an in-game feature. So you got to wait. You got to buy your tickets, be at Save on Foods Field at BC Place to see these firsthand before they're available on the website and on our social channels. But plenty of great things being planned. It's an historic year in many fronts. Touchdown Pacific, we announced that this week. Public on sale will take place a week from Thursday, March the 28th. And if you're on the fence about going to this, and you don't have season ticket holder access or any of the various pre-sales going on, act quickly. This is going to sell out within hours as of the 28th, we predict. Tickets starting at $35, going all the way up to $95. Beyond that, at Royal Athletic Park, our VIP hospitality section, we have a bit of a revamped Coors Light party zone. That's where I want to hang out. And forget about work. I just want to hang out and drink a couple Coors Lights and then get on to our post-game duty. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen, but we're very much excited to be part of this. So bclions.com/touchdown Pacific is where you can find all the information. And now that it's getting closer, we're looking forward to seeing how this stadium gets built and how the enthusiasm will just build from here.
Yeah, like you said, we're going to be documenting that whole process too, heading there on Thursday, March 21st for a little day trip, and excited to see all the progress that's going to come with that. And yeah, get your tickets fast. It's going to sell quick.
August 31st, a pretty awesome wrinkle to Labor Day weekend, Lions and Red Blacks, and two-day festival going to precede this. I think the team goes on Wednesday night, so Thursday, Friday practices. Ship Point Harbor, the inner harbor there in Victoria, which is close to where the teams are staying. That's going to be a party. Music festivals, a lot of stuff being planned that we can't yet announce, but we'll be excited to announce as it gets closer. This is going to be a classic CFL party, not just for Victoria and British Columbia, but all of Canada.
Yeah, Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that.
Going to be massive, as they say. We're going to talk to David Menard here in a few minutes, a Lions veteran defensive lineman going into his 10th CFL season. Been here for pretty much all of it. He went over to Montreal in, 2019, 2021, somewhere in there. But he's a Lion. He's a career Lion. We'll call him one. And get his thoughts on the upcoming season and some changes on the defensive line. Of course, his good buddy Matthew Betts taking his talents to the Detroit Lions. We'll talk a bit about that, but we'll get his own combine memories, Nick. I'm sure the process has changed greatly from when he took part in 2014 as a draft prospect.
Yeah, and I know David was a little banged up going into that combine too. He had to tough it out through a little hamstring injury, I believe. So we'll get his memories about toughing it out during the actual combine drills and being nervous for the interviews. I'm kind of surprised to hear how nervous he was.
Yeah. So you'll hear from David here shortly, as mentioned, and just one of the all-time good guys that we deal with on a daily basis throughout the season.
Yeah, always fun to hang around with him.
Absolutely. That guy, post-football, if he wants to work in broadcasting or coaching, it seems like he might
travel vlog, whatever.
Yeah, that's a guy who's going to have some post-football options that we'll look forward to following whenever that day comes. A couple other great initiatives going on here. Again, this is the build-up to football, but out in the community, we announced in the last week or two ago the Women's Flag Football Clinic being organized for girls and women aged 12 and older. Drills and scrimmaging, and our assistant defensive backs coach Tanya Henderson, who we had on the last episode talking more about this, will lead a dynamic team of female coaches and getting more young girls interested in the game of football. This is a very special one. Yeah, and registration's going very well from what we hear. The clinic's going to be happening in North Van on April 29th, so we'll be there to document it as well. And as Tanya mentioned on the last episode we had her on, no experience required.
it's ages 12 and up, and yeah, feel free to come out.
Remember we were joking that I might see Tanya at the airport because she was.
Did you?
No, did not. So I did walk by her gate.
She wasn't there.
This was like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Flight to Salt Lake. So how many flights to Salt Lake are leaving YVR at 7:30 in the morning? So I texted her, saying, I just walked by your gate. Are you on flight, whatever it was, to Salt Lake? She says, yep, just getting to the park and fly now. So
you just missed
she was leaving a bit later than I was, so that was funny. We were joking about that.
Yeah, but it's convenient to get there when you got park and fly, right?
Park and fly, yes.
Little free ad.
The way to go, yeah. Look forward to using those shuttles again in 2024. And we'll talk a little bit more about Las Vegas as promised. A couple of funny stories that we can share at least. We'll talk about it. From Women's Flag, we go to IYP. You know it better as Indigenous Youth Program. 3rd year as part of our commitment to the Orange Shirt Initiative, Truth and Reconciliation, and building better Indigenous communities. We'll be working with the Indigenous youth, helping them sharpen their football skills. This is another one you and Liam have captured at least once. Again, very special, very important.
Yeah, and the players that run these practices and ultimately the tournament at the end of April, they take this very seriously too. I'll never forget a funny story about the first year of this program is I went to, I believe it was Frank Hurt, and they were kind of just, it was the first practice they had. And
here in Surrey, right?
Surrey, yeah. And they were kind of just running through some basic passing route drills and doing the receiver routes and all that. And then I go to, I believe it was Abbotsford. I believe it was Sumas the first year they had it. And none other than Nathan Rourke is one of the players teaching the kids at Sumas, and they have like double reverse plays. Nathan has a full playbook going on. They have like double reverse plays going on. There were some good athletes out there, and I think they did win the tournament that year. But that's a good example of how serious the players take this, and Nathan was no exception.
Not surprised to hear Team Rourke coming out on top there in the inaugural IYP program. And a shout out to our sponsors, Prospera Credit Union, BC Hydro, Liuna Local 1611, Palmerlau Construction, Fortis BC, Levitt Machinery, proud partners once again for our Indigenous Youth Program. Neil McAvoy, Rick Campbell, Tanya Henderson, Mike Benavides, Kelly Bates, I think, Cast of Thousands, Rob Ralph, Ryan Rigmaiden on the ground in Winnipeg as we speak. Very important part of the process. I have a piece up at bclions.com talking to Neil McAvoy and the luxury of having 8 draft picks, including a bonus second-round pick for playing the most Canadian snaps, I should say, on offense and defense. New reward, BC and Winnipeg 1 and 2. Always exciting, the Canadian draft, not just for the present, but for the future.
Exactly, yeah. And then you got a guy like David Menard that we're about to speak to, who was a 4th-round pick. So for anyone who doesn't think the draft doesn't matter or you're not going to improve your team through the Canadian draft, guys like Menard end up to be gems. Adrian Green was another late-round pick that we just had. Jack Hinsberger, another one that we had that made an impact last season. And then I think it's really neat, like you said, too, this replaces the territorial picks. This additional second-round pick that we have because of playing the most Canadian snaps all season. That's a brand new rule that was negotiated in the PA last year. So that's a big benefit. You can select whoever you want with that pick. And
it speaks to just the job that they've been doing at bringing in national talent for the last several years, 3-4 years. Ben Haladik is an example of I think he was a 3rd-round pick in 2021. They saw the virtual combine and they saw him do these drills, do this testing, and that kind of boosted him up their draft board. And again, Neil talks about that process at our website, bclions.com. And yeah, these used to be the territorial picks, like you say. That used to just be for the 2 bottom teams in the league. They would just give extra picks at the end of the second round and
pick in province.
This is definitely a good way to reward teams for rewarding good Canadians. All right, David Menard, what's in store for year 10? His own combine memories. We'll speak to the Lions veteran defensive end coming up. Veteran BC Lion defensive lineman David Menard now joins us on First and Now in Montreal. David, hello, bonjour. How's the offseason treating you there in your home province?
It's going well. Really busy. Opened up the gym last month. Still working with the Carabin, my old college team, University of Montreal, and obviously working out, training to get ready for the next season. And so far, so good. Everything's going well.
Yeah, the reigning Vanier Cup champion, Carabin. I tell you, Montreal, they got to start sharing some of these trophies, right? Have you've been, how motivating is it being in that city right now, given all that's happened?
I mean, yeah, being with the Carabin is it's cool because they just won a Vanier, and I'm helping them. But with the other side of things, seeing the Grey Cup all around town, and seeing the whatever media that the Grey Cup is here, there, schools and stuff. So that's the annoying part. The Vanier Cup is cool, but the Grey Cup, seeing the Grey Cup around is kind of annoying. But like you said, it's been motivating, and obviously that's a goal for next season. And I think VA said it well: Grey Cup or bust. And I think it applies to a lot of guys, a lot of things for next season. So the motivation is all time high, and yeah, we gotta keep riding that.
Yeah, naturally, you're going to be motivated because you're heading into season 10 in the CFL. I think I have that right. Hard to believe, David.
Hard to believe, yes, yeah. Sometimes I do pinch myself because I've you know never expected to play that long. You know, double digit season. It's yeah, that's something else. Obviously, I still got to go through it, training camp and everything, and I still believe I'm a rookie deep down. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy.
We're obviously in the middle of March, David, though, and before you head over here for training camp in Kamloops, are you traveling anywhere else this off season? I know you've been in the past. You've been to like Costa Rica, right, and other places. Talk about some of the travel places you've headed to in these past off seasons.
No, this past off season, I did it. I did just all inclusive resort because I didn't want to have to deal with any kind of preparation. I just needed to go away for a week and trying to rest up as much as I can. I didn't do any traveling, and I don't plan on traveling before the season. After next season, since it's going to be my 10th, probably my last, I plan on doing a big ass trip just to wrap up my career and everything. But that's future me problem. I'll deal with the season first, make sure we end up with the Grey Cup at home in BC Place, and then I'll think about traveling. Like obviously, it's the back of my mind. Like I do want to, wrap up on a good note, but we gotta take care of business first.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any destinations on your bucket list for that big ass trip coming up after the season?
Yeah, I want to go back in Asia, anywhere. Southeast Asia is it's too nice. It's too well. First of all, it's cheap, so I'm not a cheap guy, but I like to travel at a lower cost. Let's say it that way. And yeah, Asia, it's beautiful. Food is good. Weather is great. Obviously, landscape. It's you don't see it anywhere else in the world. Obviously, so I'd like to do maybe Philippine. I don't know, maybe Singapore, like some like travel, do a little trip around Southeast Asia. Not Thailand and Vietnam because I did it obviously, but I've been thinking about the Philippine, maybe even Japan to be honest, because it looks super nice. So yeah, that's what I've been thinking.
You're such a worldly guy. How did you not get in on this Kenya thing with Bo and Chaika and Rhymes and the boys? You seen any of the Instagram from there? Looks like they're having a blast.
Yeah. I did see that go, but honestly, I have no idea. Didn't get invited, so
I was gonna say you have to get in on the World Vision deal, and yeah, we're having some fun with it. But it's a great cause what they're doing. They're seeing some pretty great things.
yeah,
But
that looks great. Honestly,
looks like a great place. I was gonna say too. Yeah.
oh, beautiful. Yeah, of course. Like it's it's a great cause, obviously, but I'm pretty sure the trip itself is kind of nice. So
Yeah.
it's great. I'm really really proud of those guys, and I've seen this. There's not a. It's not just the Lions, right? There's a lot of all the teams are. Well, I don't know if it's all the team, but multiple teams are involved in that. So it's really cool to see. I like that.
That's correct. Before we get this ship too off course, we do want to talk football. It's Combine Week. We'll do some reminiscing with you in a minute, but might as well get you groomed for this question because you're probably going to be asked it more than once before May rolls around. But Matthew Betts, first off, how much have you talked to him? We talked to him a little bit. Obviously, we wish him well in Detroit, but the second part of that question, David, is a lot of production to be filled. How excited are you to sort of take on that challenge as well?
I mean, I'm not excited to see him leave, obviously, because we were friends. Our chemistry, everything was great. So I'm not happy. I'm not excited to see him leave. But like you said, there's a lot of work, a lot of production to be filled, and yeah, I'll do my best. Obviously, it's I've been doing that for years now, and I'll make sure that I can help the team as much as I can. I know we've signed Robertson. Am I correct, Robertson?
Pete Robertson, yep.
Yeah. So that's gonna be a nice add-on, and with Sione coming back and everything. So uh, yeah, I'm excited to see the D line work as a group. But if we're talking about Betts himself, it sucks to see him go. It's great for him. I wish him the best. Like you said, like we've talked a couple times, and he's super excited to go to the Lions, obviously, and we all are to see him go there and do his thing. But he's gonna be missed. Obviously, we'll have to work, double shifts to be able to, make our presence felt, uh, you know, as much as he did his. So yeah, it's gonna be tough, but it's excited. It's exciting to, be able to maybe take a little bit more on my shoulders. So, but we'll see. I don't even know what the coaches have in mind for rotation and everything. But one thing for sure, I'll come ready and I'll be there to do as much as I can. That's for sure.
With the D line too, obviously with Betts going, you already were the longest tenured CFL player on this defensive line. But I'm sure the leadership role you have has a big influence on these youngsters like Francis Bammy, Nathan Cherry, and all these. They're big first round picks that have high expectations coming into year 2 and year 3. How are you playing a role in developing them as well?
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, like you just said, like I can't go against the fact that I'm a 10-year vet now. But I'm not the most vocal guy, but I do believe that now that with all that experience, when I talk, guys are listening. So I'll make sure that I help the guys as much as I can. I mean, I don't know everything, but I know quite some things, and I'll make sure that I'm helping the team and the D line, and like I said, I'm gonna do everything I can on and off the field to be able to help the team. And yeah, if it's just talking on the sideline during practice to younger guys, and like just tell them how I see things, what I look at like pre-snaps, and just to try to make the game slower for these guys. So I'll do my best to help the younger guys, that's for sure. But yeah, I don't know. So like I said, sometimes I feel like I'm a rookie all the time. So I'll make sure that I help the team, but in my mind, I'm still a rookie. So we'll see.
Do you notice that? I know there's obviously coming with being a 10-year vet and them being 2 or 3 years into the league, like they're obviously younger players. Do you notice that there's like the age gap difference in terms of maybe like, I don't know, like stuff they even like how they talk or anything like that? Or do you find yourself fitting into all of that?
Well, sorry, say that again.
like the age difference that you guys have, is it, have you picked up on that, or in terms of like maybe what like Benny talks about or things he's interested in, or is that all the same stuff that you care about too?
I mean, well, I noticed it, from time to times, but uh at the end of the day, it's all good because we're all just a bunch of kids at heart. Well, Tebow's a grown ass kids; it's still kids, but that's a different story. But we're all kids at heart, at least. So yeah, it's all fun and games. Honestly, it's great. The chemistry, at least that we had, is that was perfect. That was so good. Even though the age gap can be there at times, but I don't really see it. It's when it comes to football, obviously age doesn't matter. Well, it does, but it doesn't. And and during conversation, like, it's just that I got more experience, more knowledge, and sometimes I got to be careful what I see because younger guys, sometimes they're going to be listening and be like, okay, so if he says this or that, like he means it, or that's what I should do. But just got to be careful. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. The age gap doesn't really matter.
We've talked a lot about the defense naturally, but Nick and I were talking about how this offense, solid mixture of youth and veterans, particularly at the receiver position. One of your old teammates, William Stanback, is now one of ours in the backfield. What's your take on how the offense has kind of been retooled here, David? Because you're going to be going up against them in practice.
I mean, the passing game obviously always been good, so that's not I'm not even worried about a passing game at all. And I just you know as long as VA keeps improving like he did last year and the year before that, we're going to be great. And now, with Stanback, obviously we want to be, bigger and run the ball, more powerful if I can use it that way. So that's going to be great because, I feel like maybe we didn't run the ball as much as we should have in the past. And maybe that's the reason why we're bringing Stanback to make sure that we have a bigger weapon in the backfield. So I'm just excited to see things go with Stanback and the obvious passing game that we already know we have. So it's gonna be a nice. It's gonna be fun to watch, I believe.
Combine, the CFL Combine taking place as we recording this. It's underway in Winnipeg. It's probably changed quite a bit today compared to 10 years ago. Again, time flying here, but what are some of your biggest memories about testing and working out for all the teams back in 2014?
I mean, the whole trip was a memory itself, obviously, because it was the interview of a lifetime, obviously, because that was you're fresh out of college and you try to impress every coaches, or at least one coach, one GM that's gonna be that's gonna take a chance drafting you and trying to put you on the field after that. So the entire weekend, because back then it was just 2-3 days, I believe.
Yeah.
The entire trip was just I've never been so stressed before because interview in the room with the coaches, GM, and everything. They're asking questions, and you try to do your best to answer those questions, obviously. But then you walk out and you're like, shit, I should have said this or I should have said that. So it's even worse after the fact that, you didn't say what you should have said. But other than that, honestly, the testing, beside the bench, the testing was kind of rushed. So it's tough. It's a big grind. It's a big challenge. But once you're done, you feel you feel so good about yourself. You feel like you've done everything that you could have. Like, obviously, like I just said, sometimes you walk out of meetings room and you're like, oh shit, I should have said this or that, or my answer was not as good. But at the end of the day, on at that exact time, exact moment, you did the best that you could, and interview or testing. So you just walk out of there thinking, okay, I did everything I could, and now it's just I just gotta trust that I'm gonna get drafted and do my best to earn a roster spot. So it's yeah, it's just fun when you like a good challenge, when you embrace challenge, when you embrace adversity. A combine is just perfect for that.
How did you perform at the combine? Do you remember like what you put up on the bench, or what other
Yeah, I did great. I did great on the bench. The other testing were not so great for me because the funny thing is, well, not so funny, is I pulled my hamstring 5 weeks prior to the combine. So I did not really prepare for any kind of running because, I was just fixing my hamstring. So my first 40 was at the combine. So the first one I was just okay, I'm gonna run as fast as I can, but I'm just gonna cross my finger that nothing snaps. So I just ran everything else together, and I did all my tests pretty much that way, except for the bench because the bench I knew I was solid. But other than that, and then the one-on-ones, one-on-ones went great. I remember the coaches they called me out because they do call outs at the end, right? You want to see, this guy against that guy. So I did a couple call outs, and that was good. That was good. I was, proud of myself, like I said, and the testing was not so great, but the one-on-ones they were good enough to put me on a map. So yeah.
Do you remember some of the call-outs that you had brought up to you? Because I imagine all the offensive linemen you're going against.
I don't remember. No, that was just, I was just so nervous, going through the drills and everything. I just remember that they put me at three techs a couple times to see if I could play three, D tackle, obviously. But I don't remember against who it was. I wish I did, but I don't. I didn't notice. I was just like, focus on the moves I was going to do and, try to beat my guy. I didn't remember who I was against.
Well said. These are stories that you'll talk about forever. And yeah, it's no doubt would be intimidating for someone who's not used to that environment. But 10 years going strong, David, and it certainly worked out in the end. And we look forward to chasing that Grey Cup again with you this coming year. So yeah, speaking of workouts, yeah, we caught you in between sessions today, so thanks for making the time, and we'll look forward to catching up with you in Kamloops just a couple months away, my friend.
Yes, sir. Can't wait to see you guys.
Take it easy, David.
Thanks, David. David Menard, always well-spoken, quite the travel guru, and no doubt he talked about the interview process. Let's face it, for a kid like that 10 years ago, English not his first language, right? Walking into that interview process, and you have Wally Buono, the all-time winner. Mike Benavides would have been the head coach. Neil, I'm sure, would have been around. And the big difference there is nowadays, Nick, whether it's our draft, the NFL draft, the NHL draft, these prospects, these kids are coached up pretty good now on how to interview and how to talk. That wasn't necessarily the case back then.
No, and I guess you hear David talk about being nervous for the interviews, right? And I guess the way you can kind of compare it to the real world is, or for the average consumer listening to this podcast, is that say you have a dream job and you go into that interview, you're probably going to be nervous, right? And that's most of these guys at the CFL Combine this week. It's their dream job to be a professional football player, and interviews can make or break that potentially, right? So it is a big deal.
Very well. David Menard was in Montreal. Montreal, also the backdrop of the 73rd Grey Cup, Olympic Stadium, Lions and Tiger Cats in 85. As we continue our series of profiling the Lions' 6 Grey Cup champions, we did the 1964 version on our last episode. There was no changing jerseys at halftime in this one, Nick, but pretty big backdrop again to this one. The Lions had been knocking on the door. Don Matthews comes over in 83. They lose a heartbreaker at home to Toronto at BC Place, newly built BC Place. 84, they lose a Western final to Winnipeg at home. 85 comes around, a third straight home Western final against Winnipeg. Lions take that rubber match, but they lose Mervyn Fernandez. Ned Armour was a receiver who would clutch up big in the Grey Cup against Hamilton, but facing a Tiger Cats team that had lost the 84 Grey Cup to Winnipeg. So two hungry teams meeting in the 73rd edition. Nick, I know you rewatched a big chunk of this or watched it for the first time because I was 1 year old in 1985. You were not even a twinkle in your old man's eye yet, as they say. But what were your big takeaways?
Big takeaways was it was an air show back then for the BC Lions. I know a lot of people say this was, I think Dollywall replied to your tweet today saying it was the greatest BC Lions team of all time. And I think
he said that many times, yes.
And yeah, you look at the receiving core, right? Like you said, Mervyn Fernandez did not dress in that game, but they had, Mervyn had 15 touchdowns that year, almost 2,000 yards. And then a guy like Jim Samdusky had 1,000 yards and came up big in the Grey Cup game as well with another long touchdown. But it was just, the Lions with Roy DeWalt, they were airing it out in that Grey Cup. There was actually a play, I think you saw this in the second quarter, where Hamilton kind of strike back. It was 13-0 Lions, then Hamilton scores twice.
They recover a Freddie Sims fumble when they had nothing going. That kind of opened up the door for them to...
Yeah, then Kevin Hobart, the quarterback for the Ticats, started using his legs on that second drive, and they ultimately take the lead. And then the Lions go 2-0, and it's like, oh boy, like what's going to happen here?
Momentum change.
But Louis Pasaglia, it looks like an impromptu... You saw this, right? The fake punt? Or not even a fake punt. It looks like it's impromptu where he kind of looks like he's about to get hit. So Louis kind of just takes it.
Fakes the guy out.
Goes up the gut and cuts out the middle at the line of scrimmage or cuts to the right at the line of scrimmage and runs for a first down. The very next play, it's that air show. It's DeWalt to Armour for a long touchdown. Something we both picked up on our notes here is that I asked you, was Les Brown on the Ticats or the Lions going into this game because I saw his name? And watching the game, he was definitely on the Tiger Cats because he got victimized a bunch in that game.
Yeah, Ned Armour had his number. There was another one, like Ned could have had 3, but the second one, remember they got him for
push off or whatever, yeah.
And if that infraction doesn't happen, if they get another big touchdown in that first quarter, then it's probably lights out almost, right? Mm-hmm. Even though no lead is safe in this league, it's one of the many reasons why we love it. But I jotted this down. They do like the stat graphics, which are a very different looking thing in 1985. Roy DeWalt went over 200 yards in the first quarter.
Yeah, because it was bomb after bomb.
Like, that's unheard of. Like, that puts him on pace to shatter Matt Dunnigan's 713 single season, right? Not that he would throw 200 in every quarter, but like we've both jotted down some notes here. I'd heard all the stories about how great that defense was. Rick Klassen, Nick Hebler, the two leaders on the defensive line, Glenn Jackson, Kevin Konar, two of the linebackers. And a quick plug here for Chad Klassen, friend of ours in Kamloops, the late Rick Klassen's son, is a television reporter in Kamloops, and we see him every year at training camp. He produced a nice little documentary that's on YouTube, Rick Klassen, Heart of a Lion. And I was watching snippets of that, fell down the rabbit hole once I got the 85 thing going. And Rick, this would have been done about maybe 3 or 4 years before he passed away tragically, cancer, way too young. But Rick was saying, we as a defense were praying for no weather, for a fast track. Because remember, there was no roof on Olympic Stadium at this point.
Yeah, that was something.
Yeah, that's a whole other story. The big O, as they say, OWE, they still owe money on it. But Rick in this interview says, I woke up in the morning, looked out the window, saw it was nice. I'm like, great, we're in great shape. It's going to be a fast track because they had a fast defense. And you mentioned Ken Hobart, the Tiger Cats quarterback. He was considered a dual threat. And he burned them a couple times.
In that game,
Klassen and Hebler up front, causing all kinds of havoc, and that helped will them to victory as well.
What about James Parker too? He had a big strip sack in that game.
Quick Parker. Yeah,
Mike Gray actually led this team in sacks that year too. He was a rookie. He won the CFL's Most Outstanding Rookie Award in 1985. He had a team high 13 sacks, and then Gray and Parker were also two of the 7 All-Stars that the Lions had that year, joining running back Kayvon Jenkins, who was also injured in the Grey Cup. Mervin Fernandez obviously got the All-Star nod that year, and then offensive lineman John Blaine, linebacker Kevin Konar, and then DB/returner Darnell Clash also got an All-Star in that game. And Mervin won the MVP that year too in 85.
You might want to say this team was balanced.
Yeah, weapons everywhere.
13-3, like you say, 16-game regular season in those days, like the National Football League used to be. Just a couple other notes I jotted down as I was skimming through this. The broadcasters, great broadcasters, Pat Marsden, the late, great Leif Pedersen, father of Kate Pedersen, who's doing a great job
with the Canucks
as the Canucks team reporter. Leif was a CFL legend and a great broadcaster after his playing days. And I pointed this out specifically. They had players being interviewed live while the game was going on. So Hamilton's first touchdown, I forget the player's name, he comes back to the sidelines, and the sideline reporter's interviewing him like 30 seconds later.
I noticed this too. If we're going to make this like a funny moments kind of segment from past Grey Cups, but after so earlier in the first quarter, James Parker sacks Hobart, and he's injured, and the commentators are talking about it. So then after Hobart's second touchdown, he's on the bench. He's not even standing. He's just sitting on the bench, and the sideline reporter's crouched over interviewing him, and Kevin Hobart's like, it's my left shoulder, like it's right here that's hurting. Like imagine that nowadays. Could you imagine Vernon being like in the middle of the game being like, I'm hurt right here.
Nowadays, it's upper body, questionable to return.
Yeah, you know that very well. One other very funny moment I noticed, I'm not sure if you saw this in the pregame. I think we should bring this back. We'll have to talk to Commissioner Ambrosi about this. But the commissioner at the time, before the pregame,
Doug Mitchell,
he walks out on the field of the football, and he gets on one knee with the football. He tees the football up for a ceremonial kickoff. And the ref caught it. It was just a kind of a funny moment that I noticed pregame. Yeah. So see if we can get a Commissioner Ambrosi out pregame to do a little hold the.
I'll hold it. You film it. How's that?
Yeah, and Steven will catch it.
Steven will be taking photos. Yeah.
Liam will catch it.
Yeah, It's a good thing our digital team has grown in the last couple of years. Last one for me, for now, it was Alan Wilson. Veteran at that time, had not won a Grey Cup. Seeing him on the podium as Doug Mitchell is presenting the trophy, just the look in his eyes, it was probably almost relief. We should interview Al about this one time. Was it more relief as opposed to excitement? Might have been. Yeah. That was a big takeaway from me.
Mm-hmm. And the last thing I saw that I'll note, I read this on Wikipedia, so I think we can take it with a grain of salt maybe, but I think this is true. This was the last CFL game ever to be played with a 25-yard long end zone.
Was that? Okay.
Yeah, that's what's wrote on Wikipedia. There's actually a little trivia section on Wikipedia, so that's where I'm getting a couple of my facts from here. But it says the Lions' home stadium, BC Place, which introduced the shorter 20-yard long end zones in 1983, would have their shorter end zones be the new CFL standard for the following season. So there you go.
Some history notes says, I'm still going back and forth with some buddies reminiscing about the 85 Grey Cup. Second championship 21 years after the first. Just goes to show you, just because it's a smaller league team-wise, these are not easy to win. And a very special one in my heart, 1994, we'll talk about a couple of weeks from now. Have you watched the 94 one yet?
Nope. That's the Baltimore CFLers?
Yes, at BC Place.
Love it.
And I've
seen like the top moments, but I've never watched it from start to finish.
You want to appreciate two outstanding teams going at it? Well, yeah. So 85, there you go. As part of our 70th season, we will continue to profile 2 down, 4 to go, and we really want to witness number 7. Every year we want to witness it, but this year would indeed be special. All right, a few more minutes here. We'll roll on through. Our back by popular demand is our Go For It or Punt. We each have a couple. Nick, what are you going for here?
This is probably the chalk pick for the middle of March, but I'm going with March Madness opening week. I was watching my college basketball last weekend too, in between being outside, and we talked about the brackets off the top.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got 32 basketball games these next 2 days coming up. We're recording this on Wednesday, and then you got 16 more on the weekend too. 1 game elimination. There's nothing better. It's drama. It's upsets. It's everything. And I haven't filled up my bracket yet,
Great
but I will
feeder,
say what I will tell you. I think you said you picked Kansas to win it all.
Yeah, just my research and all the algorithms I was looking
watching
at.
it all season. Every night.
I was just talking to people in Vegas.
I think the little you know, the better you do typically.
So
with
you just pick the odd 10 seed to beat the odd 7, and you might be okay. Yeah.
I'm rolling with Auburn though. That's my pick. I think they're probably gonna play number 1 UConn in the Sweet 16. That is my national championship right there. I think the winner of that game is gonna win the whole thing, because I was watching Auburn this past week. They won the SEC. They dominated. It was Block City in all their games. They have these big guys that just fly around and block balls. So I was impressed with Auburn, and that's who I'm rolling with right now. But my bracket's not done yet. I know everyone's waiting.
You were
Just
always
kidding,
a big Cam Newton guy. That doesn't surprise me. All right, I agree. Yeah, great. I'll have the TV on while we're working. I'm not ashamed to admit that right here. So yeah, it's an exciting time of year, absolutely. Stanley Cup playoffs around the corner. Speaking of which, here's what I'm going for. You should do this one time.
It's on my list.
Seeing your favorite team in Vegas. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, my dad and I, great father-son trip, saw a great Canuck win in Vegas, 3-1. Didn't quite hit our parlay because we had the over 6 goals, which was foolish because the Canucks had been greasing out 2-1 wins in Anaheim and LA before that, but that's neither here nor there. Just a cool vibe, the whole Golden Knights thing, that market clearly has bought into that franchise. They have a Stanley Cup already, of course, too, for sure, but met some great Canuck fans, and then the Red Wings were there 2 days later, the day we left. So the Red Wing fans were rolling in, everyone in their jerseys. Saw some classic Red Wings jerseys.
Nice.
Just classic. A couple of Chris Draper jerseys.
Oh, yeah.
Just a cool vibe. If you're a Canuck fan or whatever NHL team you love, go see him in Vegas just once. It's a great show, and even ran into some guys from my hometown of North Delta who were a few years older than me. I recognize your voice. I got that once at a blackjack table at New York. It just has a tendency to happen. But
little ego boost for you.
Yeah.
It can't hurt.
I'm a humble guy, though.
I know that's got to feel good.
Yeah. Hey, of all the personalities at the station I used to work for, yeah, there's definitely some louder voices than myself. But I'm going for that.
Awesome. I love that one. And if you want to go to Vegas, you might have to do it soon, because it'd be a shame if they kept slumping and missed the playoffs here. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, just hanging on. The Minnesota Wild are coming for that last wild card right now. So, yeah.
And shout out those Nashville Predators, by the way. Haven't lost since February 13th in regulation.
Dark horse, if you're looking for a dark horse Stanley Cup. And last one about Vegas was great to tour Allegiant Stadium.
Yeah, you got midfield there. That looked cool.
Remarkable. Just
not
a Raiders guy at all, obviously, but they've adopted that whole silver and black thing in Sin City, and that was modern, impressive to see. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, punting. I'm punting St. Patrick's Day. We went out on Monday for our coworker Emma Bonner's farewell tour, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
On Monday, and went to a classic Irish bar, and that was a lot of fun. But I was driving around on Friday evening, and I was driving on Granville or across Granville and to Dublin calling there, and the lines were huge. And I was like, I can't believe people are waiting like 45 minutes to an hour to get into a bar you could go to on any other weekend and not have to typically wait, right? And all the people go crazy over the green beers and everything. I don't have any Irish ties to me, obviously, so that's why I'm punting this. I like the more kind of the place we were at was more reserved. It was more chill, so enjoyed that. But going to these crowded places, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. Hop Valley IPA at least has a green can, so you can sort of.
I had one of those in my patio by myself. Yeah.
Had a couple of those on the weekend. Just outstanding beverage. Not just saying that because they're a sponsor. It's a very, very good beer of the Molson Coors family. Yeah. Well, how old are you now?
I'm a 97, so I'm 20. I always have to think about this now. I go by age.
26, 27. Yeah.
26.
For me, St. Patrick's Day, when you're in your early 20s and you don't have much responsibility and it's an excuse to go get drunk and have fun at a pub. Yeah, sure. I used to kind of get into it, but now I'm with you. I'll sit on the couch. I'll pour one in honor of St. Patrick's Day, but I won't go too crazy. It's almost kind of like a March New Year's Eve, right?
Go on the balcony.
Like, what are you doing for St. Patrick's Day?
I don't know. I'm going to the beach. It's plus 20 in Vancouver.
Exactly. It's just another day. So, all right. Here's what I'm punting. Hard thing to punt, but just because of the world we're in. How about overreacting to free agency? Talking specifically about the NFL. So, hey, I follow and engage with a lot of Bay Area content creators and media personalities. These people want the 49ers to fill every hole in the first 2 days of free agency. You know, not realizing there's a business component, there's a salary cap. Heck, there's a draft coming up where they could get younger and cheaper prospect options, right? The sky is not falling because you didn't spend over your allotment in free agency. This goes for fans of any sport and any team in any league.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on that one. My Colts actually got a lot of credit this past week because they kind of just went the route of re-signing their own guys.
Yeah.
Instead of going crazy on the open market, right? And they usually, Ballard, their GM, usually kind of operates through the trade route, essentially. Because obviously, you remember the DeForest Buckner trade. Apparently, the Colts are in on L'Jarius Sneed right now, so...
That'd be huge.
Yeah. We need a CB1. I'm praying for that one.
And this is the thing, like, the Niners didn't just stand pat. Leonard Floyd, a good opposite rush end to Nick Bosa. That's something they tried doing with Chase Young. Didn't work out.
Yeah.
So... They got Campbell, the linebacker from Green Bay. That's a stopgap until Dre Greenlaw comes back.
So that's Devondre, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. That's a good pickup.
Yeah, like that was like a day 3 signing.
A sneaky ad, yeah.
Hey, Josh Dobbs.
Oh, yeah.
Serviceable backup quarterback. So, but
Smart
people
guy.
are acting like the sky is falling, right?
No, and everyone in the Eagles is all happy about Saquon and all these big names you hear, right? So, yeah, I definitely agree with you. It's better to be calculated, right?
There you go. Hey, fan is short for fanatic, right? You have to remind yourself that.
That's a good one.
All right, go for it or punt. Love doing that. Anything else you want to kick around here before we're done?
Well, I think in the past couple of weeks, just going around the CFL world, we haven't touched on this, but we have some big retirements in the past couple of weeks. Simone Lawrence and Enoch Mwamba these past couple of weeks have announced that they're leaving the CFL game. Two great long-time studs in the Canadian Football League, great ambassadors of the league. So obviously wishing those two guys the best in retirement, and I'm sure they'll be around a lot in terms of the CFL content in the next upcoming years.
Yeah, we know Enoch, podcast plug here, himself and Donovan Bennett doing a great job with the Waggle. Simone Lawrence, I thought this was kind of cool. He's remaining with the Tiger Cats as sort of like an ambassador.
Larry Dean too, right?
He retired. Yeah, is he doing the same? Oh yeah, they're keeping him in football operations, I think I read. So it's always cool. These guys from America come up, carve out nice careers in Canada, and they stay here, right?
Yeah.
So power rankings, always fun. Let's just get right to this. Who's 9th in the power rankings?
You put me on the spot here.
Calgary?
All I care about is that we're third. We should be number one, in my opinion. But
I'll take top 3 in March.
You see all the additions we've been making?
I'm only asking this because remember this time last year, Montreal was dead last.
Yeah, and that was obviously a big deal. So who's gonna win the Grey Cup?
Who's gonna?
Congratulations, Calgary! You were ranked 9th in the CFL Power Rankings.
They're not gonna. Yeah. So
we're third. We'll improve off that.
This is one of those things. Yeah, it's good for engagements. It's. I think we had our 1 week in the top spot after beating the Bombers in week 3 last year, but. Yeah, it's fun. It's
the
good
CFL is giving us some love, though. I saw Chris O'Leary the other week had an article just pretty much talking about what he likes, what he sees with the Lions, and kind of talking about the continuity on offense and having Vernon Adams back as that bona fide QB1. So also getting some love. And then one of the article I liked, I just want to touch on this. Don Landry, it was an interesting article. He just predicted his next 10 most outstanding Canadians, like from going all the way up to 2033.
I saw they did something similar with MOPs, but I have to check out this one.
The Canadian ones was funny. We had Ben Halatic as one of the predictions for it, so I appreciate that. But it was funny. I think in 2033. I think he picked like his nephew or something to get drafted into the CFL and pick up the game and become a stud Canadian. But I think when you just kind of spitballing right now, if there's any guys in these next 10 years, Haladic comes to mind. I'm high on Francis Bemmy, though. I think maybe in the next 10 years he could sneak out a most outstanding Canadian award. You saw at the end of the year, we keep talking about how he elevated his game. So I think some Lions are going to be in the running for that hardware. And
I'll say this, if we accomplish what we want to accomplish, a lot of it is going to be because VA is at an MOP level, and it's his time.
Yeah. He's got to get an award too. I think about even if we're just talking about awards in general, I think you saw a guy like Darrell Broxton on the offensive line position. It's kind of hard when you're for the offensive line award to get that recognition, right? Yeah. I think once you kind of get in that conversation, then you're always in it.
Well, even things like I see this firsthand. Those who vote for the All-Stars, like our local media contingent here, they'll call up Kelly Bates and get his thoughts and get his opinions, right? Because it's not the easiest one to break down. So I mentioned Vernon, and then how about Gary Peters' defense?
MODP, he's due. He's at the prime of his career right now. But I think Broxton too. Broxton's in that conversation now for most outstanding offensive lineman, and he's only going to get better as he gets more experience in the CFL. So we have no shortage of superstars on our team, which is nice.
Absolutely. Hope hardware is not few and far between in 2024. We've covered a lot of ground here. And we'll be back in 2 weeks. So we thank you, the listeners. Be sure to subscribe, rate, leave a review. I am at BakesTakes84 on Instagram and Twitter, X, whatever you call it. He is at Nick_Kowalski on the app, formerly known as Twitter, at Nick.Kowalski on Instagram. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. Check us out on YouTube. Everything up there is on YouTube. And have fun in Victoria.
Always do.
All right, we'll be back in a couple of weeks on First and Now.